The tennis world has been buzzing with one question ever since Amanda Anisimova walked off the court victorious. How did she do it? How did the American stop Alex Eala's momentum cold, especially after the Filipina had won the first set and raced to a 2-0 lead in the decider? For days, fans have been searching for answers. And now, Anisimova has finally pulled back the curtain. In a revealing post-match breakdown, the world number 10 has explained exactly what she did to defeat Eala. It wasn't just about power. It wasn't just about luck. It was about a calculated, strategic game plan designed to exploit a specific weakness in Eala's game. A tactical blueprint that, once Anisimova started executing it, made the Filipina sensation look almost helpless. And what she revealed has left fans stunned. This is the story of how Amanda Anisimova cracked the code and what it means for Alex Eala's future. To understand what Anisimova did, you first have to understand what she was up against. Alex Eala arrived in Cincinnati on fire. She had won 10 of her last 11 matches. She had captured her first WTA title in Washington, defeating world number 3 Jessica Pegula in the final. She had reached the 4th round of Wimbledon. And she had beaten 5 consecutive top 10 opponents, a streak that had the tennis world taking serious notice of the young Filipina. Eala had climbed to a career-high ranking of number 18 and was playing with the kind of confidence that made her dangerous against anyone. Her game was built on movement, on absorbing pace, on extending rallies until opponents cracked. She had beaten some of the biggest names in the sport, including Iga Swiatek, Elena Rybakina, and Pegula. Anisimova knew that she was facing a player who had already proven she could handle elite power. So she needed a different approach. She needed a plan that would take away the things that made Eala so dangerous. The match itself was a war of attrition. Eala started strong, taking the first set 6-4 pulgadas, a grueling 67-minute battle. The 5th game alone lasted 20 minutes and featured 13 deuces, with Eala saving 8 break points to hold serve. It was the kind of resilience that had become her trademark. But Anisimova, who had been visibly frustrated during the first set, finally found her rhythm. She had been caught on camera lamenting her own performance, telling her coach, "Not much fighting spirit, so yeah." But something clicked in the second set. Anisimova elevated her baseline pressure and started playing first-strike tennis. She won 88 of points behind her first serve and secured a single break to take the set 6-4, forcing a decider. Eala came out firing in the third set, breaking Anisimova in the opening game and building a 2-0 lead. It looked like she might add another top 10 victim to her growing list. Then, Anisimova made the adjustment that changed everything. So, what was the secret? Anisimova revealed that her strategy centered on one thing: applying relentless pressure on Eala's serve return. The Filipina, like many rising players, relies heavily on her serve to set up points. Her delivery is precise and her placement is effective, but she doesn't overpower opponents. Anisimova recognized that by positioning herself aggressively on the return, stepping inside the baseline earlier than expected, she could deny Eala the easy points that are so vital to her confidence and momentum. The numbers tell the story. In the third set, Anisimova won 61 of first serve return points and 66 on second serve returns. Eala actually raised her first serve percentage to 75 pulgadas the decider, but she won just 39 of those points because Anisimova was constantly in her service games. The American created 17 breakpoint chances across the match and converted 5, while facing only 7 herself. Eala, who had been so clutch in the first set, suddenly couldn't hold serve. Anisimova won 6 consecutive games from 2-0 down to close out the match. The second element of Anisimova's strategy was controlling the length of the rallies. Eala thrives on extended exchanges, using her defensive skills to absorb power and force opponents to hit one more ball. But Anisimova refused to give her that rhythm. She pursued an aggressive baseline game plan, taking risks and hitting through the court earlier than normal. She shortened points and imposed her will on the rally structure. Anisimova's approach was designed to take Eala out of her comfort zone. Instead of letting the Filipina dictate from the baseline, the American forced the action, hitting flat, deep shots that pushed Eala backward and prevented her from setting up her left-handed forehand. By refusing to engage in long rallies, Anisimova effectively neutralized Eala's movement and defensive coverage, which had been her biggest weapons against power players. What makes this revelation so significant is what it tells us about where Alex Eala stands in her development. The fact that such a specific, well-executed game plan was needed means Eala is no longer a player opponents can simply out-talent. She is not someone who gets beaten because she lacks skills. She is someone who gets beaten because opponents recognize her strengths and have prepared counterattack strategies. This is the mark of a player who has a wrath. Anisimova herself paid tribute to Eala after the match, saying, "I know Alex is such a great player and such a fighter, so I knew it was going to be a really tough match." She also praised the Filipina's fighting spirit, calling her a fighter who made the match incredibly difficult. But Anisimova's breakdown also reveals the blueprint that other opponents will now try to follow. Attack Eala's serve early. Short in the rallies. Don't let her settle into a rhythm. The question now is whether Eala can adapt. The real story is whether Alex Eala can make the adjustments. Can she improve her serve consistency even when opponents are attacking her return aggressively? Can she vary her shot selection to defend against players who are shortening points? Can she develop her net game to finish rallies before opponents can impose their aggressive baseline game? These are the questions that will define her next chapter. The defeat in Cincinnati was a setback, but it also provides valuable information. Eala now knows exactly what opponents will try to do. She can drill specifically on the return of serve. She can work on defending aggressive baseline play. She can practice maintaining composure when points are being dictated by the opponent rather than controlled by her. And as she turns her attention to the US Open, which begins on August 30th in New York, she will have nearly 2 weeks to prepare. The loss to Anisimova ended her 5-match winning streak against top 10 opponents, but her record of 9-5 against the elite remains impressive. The Filipina star has already shown she can learn from defeat. And if her past is any indication, she will use this loss as fuel to come back even stronger.